Hey guys, Dennis here. We have Alex, we have Tamara, Muddy Water Search and Recovery, and
Good
reading the
evening,
comments.
everybody.
Yes, we are fashionably late again tonight. We want to make an entrance.
Yeah. Well,
Catfish says he's got to keep the boys in line.
yeah. Yeah. Well, how is everybody doing this evening? Hope everybody's been doing well. Our guest tonight, and also Dennis and Tamara. Hope everybody's doing well this evening.
Not too bad. And it's good to see Catfish in the comments because he is at the hospital right now. Keeping him overnight, doing some more tests. So really good to see him on here and that he still has his sense of humor.
Yeah, because one of these days, Catfish is going to have to come on live with us. Because
Yes.
a lot of people have asked, and we've had many shows over the years that everybody's asked, because Catfish is always, thrown out information left and right. And people have asked, hey, when's Catfish going to come on the show and talk about stuff that he's done? So, Catfish, if you're listening, this is your invite for you to come and be on the show. I know you've said over the years you were going to do it, but
time to make it happen.
Yes. So, one of these days.
So before we jump into tonight's discussion, those who watched our live feed from last Saturday night, the 5-year anniversary live, there was somebody in the comments who was looking for a thermal drone. They have started a search team to look for missing people as well. I've been in contact with them, and this would be a pulse search and rescue. And they are trying to raise money to get a thermal drone to help search for missing people. And I let them know I would put the link to their GoFundMe in the video description tonight. So make sure to check them out. And you can find them on Facebook, Pulse Search and Rescue.
Yes.
Seems like very nice people. It's a husband and wife team. And anytime somebody's getting started to do this, I think that's a really good thing. We need more people looking for missing people.
Yes. And they were on the show last week. I can't. What was their login? Something like something of 6 or something.
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah. That's something, a family of 6 or. So I can't remember what it was, but they were on with us last week. So hopefully they'll hop on tonight with us. But yeah, they seem like nice people and starting out in the genre of missing people.
And also want to say thank you to Ricky again for joining us on that live feed from Kansas Missing and Unsolved. So if you haven't watched that live feed, please go back and watch it.
Yes. Ricky has done above and beyond helping families, with the flyers and spreading awareness. So if you get a chance, please visit his social media stuff, subscribe, give him a like, a thank you and all that if you haven't.
And Barb has put in the comments, sorry, I hadn't been on for a while, been too busy with my mom. Again, please keep Barb and her family in your thoughts and prayers. Her mom passed away, looks like January 22nd. And I know that is always a very difficult thing to go through. So please continue to keep them in your thoughts and prayers.
Absolutely.
And Megan and Chrissy, neither one of them are on tonight. Unfortunately, their uncle passed away last week. So that's been hard on the family. It seems one after another, but it's crazy.
Yes, it has been. Hopefully it stops
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs
for
to
quite
stop.
a while. So, well, so what do we are we starting out with Richard Hollman first or Billie and Mary
Yes.
Black tonight?
We'll start with Richard Hollman. This one is interesting, and we can go into why here in just a minute. Richard, he's listed as missing from Platte City, Missouri since September 15th, 2025, 74 years old. He was last, according to this flyer, he was last seen near Prospect Avenue and 73rd Terrace in Gladstone, driving a beige 2009 Lexus RX-5, and he may have a possible head injury and suffers from memory loss. He has not contacted family. He's not returned home. He's not picked up his medications. And it's been reported that he had driven off of the road and could have a head injury. It's also been reported that the day or the night before he went missing, that he had fallen and may have a head injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, a couple different things going on there. And he's again listed as missing from Platte City, Missouri. There is a report, I want to say it was the Missouri Highway Patrol, says he was last seen at the Price Chopper in Platte City. We also have this flyer. He was last seen in Gladstone near Prospect Avenue and 73rd Terrace. Also had a report from a family member. He was last seen in Smithville, Missouri, northeast of Smithville Lake. And a few days later, the same person reported he was last seen in Liberty, Missouri. This was at Highway A and 124th Street. And looking on Google Earth, 124th Street doesn't come near Highway A. I found like 120th and 131st, and there's no number streets in between. So this one is not been real easy to line up the details.
Dennis, do you have his regular flyer to put up? Do you have it so you can put it up to share with everybody? So we had, Dennis and I had talked about this. We've been talking about it for off and on for a few days. So I think there's kind of a little bit of a timeline issue right now. I guess there evidently was a period where the next of kin or somebody, I'm not sure the communication they have with this man, but I think there was a little bit of time had gone by before they actually realized he was missing. But I think there's quite a few stories floating around right now on social media. One of them was the one that Tammy had shared with us a couple days ago, and it appears that I think the daughter is the main person for the family that is doing the communication on social media, and I think right now she needs to work with the authorities on this timeline of dates when he was seen. Because like you said, he was seen at the Price Chopper in Platte City. He was seen over in Gladstone. He was seen supposedly up by Smithville Lake. And this is really close to where I live. At least, Smithville Lake is only 15 minutes west of where Tammy and I live. And Platte City, where the Price Chopper is at, that's only 10, 12 minutes south of us, which we live, we live east of Dennis about 25 minutes or so. So, we really don't know exactly the exact timeline of these dates where he was exactly seen. Hopefully the family can get this information out so we can kind of track where he was seen according to the dates. Because, just randomly going here, going there, which by all means can be done, it would just be better if we just had a loss, not a loss, if we had a timeline of dates that we could, follow. That way we could see where he was last possibly seen.
Right, because looking at the location mentioned in Gladstone, in Smithville, and in Liberty, we do have some locations to search, but having a timeline would help us focus on which one we need to go to first to bring him home as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. But it sounded like he'd had some, I guess possible health issues, why he might have fallen or hit his head or, what not exactly has happened. So, which, possibly has made him confused and, but as of the last few days, he is still missing. And I don't think there's been any real updates here as of lately.
And I do know by looking on social media, his daughter does not live in Missouri. So not having family close, as you mentioned earlier, could be the reason. It was almost a month after he was last seen that he was reported missing, and why it's been more difficult getting a direct timeline out there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, families do get busy and things happen in life, and sometimes family members don't talk to family members for a few days, couple weeks, a month at a time. So it just very well could have been some time had gone by and they didn't hear from him, and then they checked and then he didn't answer, and then they possibly maybe called for a welfare check or something, and they realized his vehicle was not there, and that's escalated the whole situation. So
yeah, I remember I did read something like you said they're worried about him being confused, and that was one of the things I saw too, is that they possibly hit his head and he was confused. So I think one of the sightings was like at 2:20 a.m. in the morning. I forget which location it was, but that's most of the time when you're that age, you tend not to be out that late at night. Not to say that not everyone does, but I would be concerned if it was my family member out that late. So
yeah. I mean, I can be honest. There's been some nights where we've stayed up discussing cases where Tammy and I literally went to the donut shop at 5 a.m. to go get donuts because we just got off the phone with Dennis and Megan and Chrissy. So
there's also been a night that we were talking about a case, and you and Tammy ended up out driving around the airport looking for a lady too. That was really
we did, and we actually had some sightings of her, and that was a crazy situation. But yeah, we did. Tammy and I. Tammy did the driving, and I was live, and we were looking, all over at our airport and the trees, and we had some flyers, and we stopped, and I was live, and Tammy was going into all the motels and talking to them. So that's been 2 years ago, I think.
I think so.
I think about 2 years ago. So, not to change the subject, but that lady, she was having some issues, and it was crazy. She had tried to rent a vehicle at the Ford dealer in Platte City, and the rental department called me and reached out to me after they had seen the stuff and said, hey, she was in here trying to rent a vehicle, but she didn't have any of her ID, anything like that. But she eventually made it to, was it Florida?
Yeah.
did she hitchhike with the semi truck drivers? I think is that
Yeah.
what it was, and I think she made it to her mom and dad's house.
She did. I mean, it was crazy.
It was, and her husband came all the way down here, and Tammy and I met with him and stuff, and it was a situation for sure. So, but yeah, so back to Richard. Hopefully the daughter, either the daughter or the daughter-in-law, I'm not sure how she is related, but she is a female that is related to him somehow. Hopefully she starts putting out more information as in a timeline. We have reached out to her. She has not reached back out to us yet. Dennis has reached out to her to let her know that we are a local group here. So we will see. But, hopefully, I'm sure they've called hospitals and they've checked all this and that. I have not looked at the stolen pages on Facebook. A lot of time people will report abandoned cars as stolen, stuff like that. I have not done that yet, but I will when we get off the air tonight. I will check into it just to make sure I don't find his car somewhere that has been reported and it just hasn't caught on yet that it's his vehicle. But we hope and pray that he's not on the side of the road somewhere and he's been there for a while, or worst case, he's in water. Hopefully he's alive somewhere, and it's just the right communication between everybody hasn't made it to the family to let him know that he's okay.
And I do want to bring up everything I'm seeing. He is 74 years old. There is a Facebook post from a relative that says he's 68 years old, but everything else shows 74, which at this point, specific age isn't a big deal there. But
Dennis, I hate to ask you to can you bring his flyer back up?
Yeah.
Does it list his home area as Platte City, or it doesn't list it, does it?
No. I believe he lived in Gladstone, but I'm not 100% on that.
Okay.
But for me, if he lived in Gladstone, then it was the Platte County Sheriff's Department shared his flyer, and I believe the Clay County Sheriff's Department also shared it. Clay County would be Gladstone. Platte County would have Smithville, or Platte City. Smithville, part of that is in Clay County, and then Liberty, I believe, is in Clay County.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking, I am pulling up the stolen pages. Up. Are we all there?
I've got volume. I've got no image.
I've got no screen.
Let's see.
I didn't know if it had gone off. There we are.
There we go. Well.
I'm telling you, this technology's beating us up here lately.
Yeah, pulling the flyer down, I had a different screen because I had it on full screen. So it pulls us up on full screen and it blacks us out. So I got to go over to one of the side-by-sides. One of these days, I may have this all figured out. Doubt it.
Hey, does it list his license plate number?
It does.
Can you tell me what that is?
It is VG
You're breaking up a little bit.
I put it there or I'm going to put it here in the comments for you.
Okay.
And it is a Missouri plate.
Okay. Well, I have just checked the 2 stolen groups that I belong to, and nobody has said anything about finding one.
And Joanne, that is true. So by the time we get it figured out, it will all change.
Yeah.
As it changes, maybe it'll finally get easier. Easier for an old person like me who's not up with the modern stuff. And for those who don't really know how far these areas are from each other, Gladstone is about the middle of the screen right here. If you go north, you see Smithville. There's Smithville Lake. Right up here is the northeast part where he reportedly was seen. But go back to Gladstone, Platte City is over here. Go back to Gladstone, Liberty is right here. Gladstone to Smithville, the northeast part of Smithville, as the crow flies, is roughly 22 miles, but it's significantly longer driving it, obviously. Platte City, as the crow flies, is 17 miles, and Liberty, where he was reportedly seen, is approximately 9 miles as the crow flies.
So is there a highway from Gladstone up to the lake?
You would take 152 highway over to 169 and take that up.
Okay.
And that's actually the quickest way. You can go back ways to get to the northeast side of the lake, but it's going to take 2 or 3 times longer going that direction.
So
he was
here
known to go up there, and he always went the 152 to 169 and went up through Trumbull to go around. I've seen Facebook comments that he was known to visit. It's in Paradise. I don't remember the name of the little restaurant there in Paradise. It's Corner or something like that.
Yeah. We know the lady that owns the little burger shack. She's got that in the ice cream shop. So it says that they changed the date to November 19th is his missing date. Flyer has been updated with updated information November 19th, 2025. But this flyer that I'm looking at is different than the one you have, but it still says he's missing since September 16th.
Seeing this flyer showing September 15th, and then the Platte County Sheriff's Department, when they shared the flyer on Facebook, it was either September 15th or 16th that they shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at Paradise. It looks like it's actually near Smithville Lake. It's
It
more
is.
it's more of the south though, but if he was driving and, was confused, may have
So,
been a familiar drive, but then, it's in that area.
so if you leave Tammy and I's house and you go east and you take our little 2-lane highway, but if you take it, you end up over by Smithville Lake, and you literally turn right, and then you go a couple hundred feet and take your first left, and that road will meander down to the Paradise Burger Shack and all that. But you'll go over the lake.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, there's a bridge right over the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It almost reminds me a little bit of the gal that went missing from Wichita. Same thing where she was confused and ended up driving, I think the South Dakota is when they found her. And she was just I think she took 29 all the way up north, and she was going to get her nails done. She's going somewhere in Wichita, and she just got confused, just kept driving. And they had, receipts of when she bought gas as she's going up north. And she was there's a police officer who saw her kind of driving a little erratically and pulled her over and then got her to the hospital and, notified family. But, she thought she was still in Wichita. So, it's kind of similar to that. And I almost wonder, like, how people have like a sense of north. I have no sense of direction, but some people have like a sense of north. And so maybe that's a thing to kind of go north. I don't know. Or you go whatever path you're used to going. Because my husband asked, it was like, well, wouldn't she have seen signs saying like Iowa, welcome to Iowa, things like that. But like, if you're really confused, you might not register. So
Is everybody else hearing Tamara break up, or is it only me?
I haven't heard it.
Dennis, you and Tamara are both frozen on my side.
Everything's fine over here.
Yeah, everything's fine over here.
Yeah, you guys have not moved.
So you get the flattering imaging of us.
I'm gonna change to 5G real quick. I might lose you all.
Oh, yeah, we lost it for a second. But yeah, so I hope, if they can kind of have a good timeline and kind of have an idea of maybe where that person is. There was actually a case, a town that I saw where it was actually a young man who went missing on his way to work. And it took 3 or 4, I think it almost took a week. And they did find he was in a car accident. It was in a ravine, like near creek. So it wasn't easy to see, but it took him in a city. It took that long, and they kind of knew his path to work and everything. So yeah, it's hard.
And it's sad, like Alex mentioned earlier, you're worried that he has been sitting out there waiting to be found, and just sad situation.
It is, yeah. Yeah, you would hope that if he was like staying with a friend or something, would have called someone or something, especially over the holidays and everything. So,
Bobby, I don't need no Red Bull.
no Red Bull.
Okay, this is much better. My 2.4G was cutting out, and you guys were freezing up, and you weren't moving, but you were talking. So I switched it to 5G. Sorry about that. One of these days, technology won't be so difficult. So
I'm not going to hold my breath.
No, absolutely not, for sure.
So hopefully we can get a good timeline on this guy and narrow it down, and then start getting some of these locations searched that we have at the moment for the case. And, I mean, some of these locations, I really don't feel he's going to be there, but it's like opportune location to where it could be possible. But like any case, any of those you are able to roll out, you're able to help narrow the scope of the search.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he'll be found maybe like spring, late spring, something like that.
Well, it's a possibility. I know that on the thread that Tammy had shared, people, and by all means, we don't want to think that he's in the water at Smithville Lake. I mean, by all means, we're not saying that. We're just, unfortunately, that's one of the things we have to consider. But I know there was people talking about the lake still having quite a bit of ice on it from the shore out so far. So I know Dennis did a little research and looked some stuff up, and so I don't know. It's supposed to be really warm this week here. Oh geez, I think it's going to be. At this point, I would say that if there is ice left, the 10-day. I saw it looks like Tammy's getting some ice. So our daytime highs this week are going to be 65, 67, 66, 60. It's not going to get to freezing temps at night till Thursday night, back down to 30. So it's very well, I mean, everything could melt off this week possibly. I know the river has cleared back up.
Yeah.
The river was starting to get quite a bit of ice in it early last week, but it's pretty much almost all gone. So,
yeah, because I had someone send me some pictures of Smithville Lake 2 days ago, and it still had quite a bit of ice on it where they'd went out to fish and ended up going home. And
yeah, I'm looking at the weather that day. If it's November 19th, looks like it actually got up to 40 that day. But I was kind of curious if there was like snow on the ground at that time. I don't know.
We didn't have our first snow till December 4th, I think.
Okay.
So, and that one melted off, and then we had the one 3 weeks ago, something like that. So, it's been relatively pretty warm. But probably, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was pretty cold for quite a bit. I mean, it was very, very cold at night here. And I assume that's where most of the ice, when it formed at the lake, was the night. I know there for quite a few days, it was below freezing, in the negatives for a little bit here. So.
And Barb just asked if there was any updates on the cause of death in the Chance Engelbert case. Tamara, would you like to answer that one?
Sure. Yeah, I've been following that one for a long time. From the way I understand it, I know there's a couple of discussion groups I belong to in that, and I've seen the reports, from the police, the FBI, and that, and they have basically ruled it accidental death. And I think, the family and the groups really don't accept that answer. However, that is the way I'm seeing it, that's the official, because everyone's like, aren't they going to look into it better? And it's like, to them, the case is closed, accidental death, that's it. So, but I know the family, because his parents and that are still looking into it. There's a lot of the online sleuths and that they're all still looking into it. And there's been a lot of activity in some of the different groups. So I think there's, kind of the public is still looking, but, officially it's closed. So I know one of the things that has come up is that they haven't released the reports, the police report or any information to the family. And they're not providing that information to the family, even though the case is closed. And so the way I understand it, once a case is closed, then it should, it can be released, especially to the family. But then you can do FOIA requests. It should be publicly available once it's closed, but they're not at this point in time. They haven't released anything. And there's this, again, you look at these different groups and discussions, and there are some family members on some of these groups, but there's a lot of like, one person says this and someone says something that contradicts. So I think like all the facts aren't 100% clear. I just know they found him, next to the monument, the large bluff, kind of in a ravine there. He was all in one area, was intact. Apparently there'd been no predation as far as I could tell. And his injuries were consistent to that, with multiple broken bones, like from like a fall, is what they say. Although people have looked like where he would have had to go in the middle of a huge rainstorm, it just doesn't seem feasible. So I kind of lean towards the side that I don't know what happened. It's hard to say. I think there's lots of options. But yeah, officially it's accidental death. Everyone else is really not accepting it and are still looking into it. I think the big thing they were talking about is if people had pictures of that area over time. And I know Google has some, but they're not very detailed, because he's in a ravine, it tends to be shadowed. So that's kind of where, because there's then people have done all these drone searches in the area now, kind of showing the area, showing what would have happened, things like that. But I think that's one thing they've asked, if anyone has any pictures of that area or video of that area, to, provide that over that period where he was gone. Because I think some people think he was moved, although they would be able to tell that, and when they were doing the autopsy to a certain degree. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I'm the same boat. I disagree with that he jumped off a cliff, because it's like the concept of climbing, because it's the north side of the bluff. There's no trails. There's no nothing. It's incredibly rough. You're in the middle of a huge rainstorm. I looked up the weather history on that. It was a pretty big storm. At one point, there were like 70-mile-an-hour winds. And that time period is right when that storm was coming through. So I think there's more to the story. I disagree with the fact that it could be like, the Weiss family members. Everyone talks about that. I don't necessarily think it's that personally. That's not my intuitive part, doesn't say that. But I do think something happened. But yeah, I don't know what. I think it is a big mystery.
I did send off the FOIA request to get information, so I'm waiting to hear back from them on that.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, like I said, if anything, it'll provide some pressure that a lot of people are probably requesting it. So
I know that sometimes Google Earth images can be really good, and sometimes they can be absolutely terrible. We had Dennis, and this is 3 years ago. 3 years ago, basically 4th of July week, we were working a case for a kid that was missing out of Kansas City, Kansas. And we had some information leads about Wyandotte County Lake and possibly people being thrown down the spillway. And that we should look at the spillway creek that comes from the bottom of the spillway, which goes to the Missouri River. And sure enough, about halfway to the river, we found what looked like. And if you was to ever look at images, from Google Earth and try to find somebody, you hands down say somebody was laying in the creek. They looked like they were on their back, tangled up in a tree that had fell across the creek, but you could see like blue jeans with either white socks or like white sneakers. Dennis and I was like, oh my gosh, we've got to get a drone out there. We got to look into this. So I went on the Kansas City Drone Club's Facebook page, put a request that I needed somebody that could possibly, we could pay for a couple hours of service to document something. I didn't tell him what it was. We did finally get somebody that reached out to me, and I basically told him, what it was, what was going on. I told him what we did, and I paid him for a couple hours of service, and he come out and had this incredible drone, and he flew it all the way out there, and he flew it all the way down into the creek, into the water, that the water was reflecting the drone, and the drone was catching the drone's own reflection off the water, and whatever it was gone. But hands down, it was something, but in the end, it was not this, young man's body. He was found. But if we had ever seen something from Google Earth, unfortunately, it had to be somebody, because it looked like, and I don't know, Dennis, we can go back on Google Earth and find those pictures because they don't go away. You just have to go back and look at the history when we had seen it. But absolutely, it looked like somebody was caught up in the tree, and the best evidence ever. But by the time, we was able to get there, and I can't remember the time since the picture on Google Earth had been taken, but by the time we got there, of course, we'd had torrential rains and water come out of the spillway at the lake and, wash things through the creek. But, so yeah, it would be great to see some kind of imaging to, see if you could see chances, remains up there.
Yeah. Or again, they're thinking that, there'll be a time where he's not there and then he is there.
Yeah.
And that's, I do feel like that something happened. I have my own opinion on what the possibility is, but it's just hard to say, because the other part that was odd, the FBI got involved. And so the way I understand it, the FBI does not get involved in missing person cases. They involve criminal cases. They will get involved in a missing child case, missing person case, if it's a very young child. But they're not supposed to be involved in, especially when there was no foul play expected, which the police have always never documented that or felt that way, at least publicly. So it kind of begs that question: why was the FBI involved in his autopsy? Are they just there for observation? I don't know. It's just, there's lots of very odd things with the case. Just lots of just unusual things. So, but it's just hard to say, will we ever know? I'm not sure,
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the hardest things is, especially, I can't even imagine for the family, but to at least have some closure, but then not know exactly what happened would be.
Well, I would say that closure with stuff that's realistic and makes sense versus closure and questioning everything. And I think from things that we've discussed and talked about, that's, I think, how they are feeling right now.
Yeah, that seems to be from the posts that I've seen from the family, and that it's just really hard, and then, the situation, with the extended family makes it more difficult too. It's just not a good situation. And I think I can't even imagine, being a family and going through that. That would be, so difficult, just trying to find peace again in your life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The pizza roll's done?
No.
Okay.
Oh, looks like Catfish is heading out. So.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, feel better, Catfish. I agree. Hopefully you get on the mend and get to go home soon.
Yeah, because we would like you to come join us one of these nights if you're still there or not, but for sure.
So you mentioned Google Earth. Sometimes imaging's good, sometimes bad. The other case that we were going to talk about tonight, we had image off of Google Earth that looked like a vehicle underwater. The measurements were consistent, and I mean, clearly underwater on Google Earth. And it happened to be the first time you and Tammy joined us on a search for Billie and Mary Black. And we get there, and where this image was, or the object is, was not underwater at that time, and unfortunately was the burned farm equipment. But I would have bet just about anything that was a vehicle based off the imaging.
Yeah, when it was, when we first saw those images, I mean, it looked like a hood, it looked like a trunk, it looked like windows and a trunk lid. I mean, it looked like the top of a car in water, and you measured it, and we were looking at it, and I will never forget that day. It was hot, it was sticky, and that section of the lake was empty, but it was still a little muddy.
Right.
And Tammy's oldest son was with us. But when we went to walk to get to that part, it was only you and I.
And the weeds were about 10 foot tall.
Yeah, the weeds were 10 foot tall in some places, and I'll never forget you and I making it there, just completely like somebody had just stole our dog,
Right.
Popped our balloons at our birthday party.
Oh,
I mean, we were so devastated because it was, when you looked at it from space, when you looked at it from Google Earth, hands down in the water, it looked like a car. And maybe someday we can do an episode where we can bring up these, images where we have done and looked at stuff, and we have gone back and it's been gone, or when we actually put eyes on it, it's trickery. It's not what it appears to be. But even trying to look at it and then look like if we could look down in it, I still don't see how it could have looked like it did in the water.
Right.
Because just the shape of it, and I can't even remember what it was. It was a piece of farm of equipment, but
It was like an old thrasher.
was it an old thrashing machine or something? But yeah, I mean, it was that was a day. That was a day of sweating and walking and boots. I mean, it was nasty.
And Alex had his phone triple checking the GPS to make sure we're on the right spot. We're kicking the ground to see how hard it is, if something could have sunk down and be hidden under this. It was devastating.
Yeah, we were using one of the map apps, and you can go from the colored map to the Google Earth images. And when you switch it to the Google Earth images, then you can walk with your phone and it shows where you're walking. And we literally walked right to the object. I mean, we were like, this is it. This is not what we are seeing underwater, but unfortunately, what else could have been? It had to have been what we seen.
Right.
But that we did a lot of research on that case, and we did find out that there was family members that somehow through the grapevine, the blacks evidently had access to that, I think, because I think they had gone fishing in that area a few times. And I think when we were trying to, follow the trail, could they have access to this? Because that's when we first thought it was their vehicle. I really thought that day we were going to find them.
Yeah.
Because we had some information that, they had the ability to go there, go fishing, all that. But Byron Mcdonald, if he's still with us, Byron, you still here with us in the chat? Are you still watching? I know Byron has done a little bit on the, the Blacks case. He had worked with another group in the past. So he's done a little bit on them. So I don't know. We've discussed a lot with their case. We have wondered if they drove back to where they grew up, to that town. And that's quite a bit of travel, from Atchison all the way to where they had lived when they were younger. We've looked at stuff like that. We've looked to accesses to the river. There was ponds all along every conceivable road. I don't know, we haven't seen anything technically new in quite a while about their case. I do not think the Sun publicly talks about it. Currently, I don't think he says anything. So I don't know. I mean, what's your guys' thoughts?
And Byron was there with Adventures with Purpose when they were there.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's Living of Six.
Living of Six. That is their name.
Yep. Like the logo. It's really pretty.
Watches family sleeping.
Hey, Byron, I'm putting a link in the comments. You should be able to just follow that link. I will text it to you as well. Actually, I'll have to go a different route.
Yeah, I feel with that case, being on the water would make the most sense considering how long it's been.
Yeah.
And the location. I mean, it's not like there's like a large forested areas around, so.
And Byron, I'm sending the link to you in Messenger. You should be able to click on that and it will bring you over and we'll be able to pull you up. You'll just want to make sure that your mic and camera is turned on though. And Pulse, we did go in and talk about you guys, what you guys are trying to do in your GoFundMe at the beginning of the live tonight, and let everybody know that the link to you guys' GoFundMe is in our video description tonight. There's an image of Billie and Mary. And I've read that it was routine for them to lock their doors and turn out their lights anytime they weren't in a room. And after they went missing, it was found that the kitchen light was still on. The front door was unlocked. Their wallet, purse, money, medicine, everything was still at home. So when I first started looking at that, you're only going to leave that stuff home like that for, if you're just running down the road for something, which most of us is still going to take our wallet and our ID. But what reasons would somebody do that? It's been asked, did they leave their house and not plan on coming back home? Was this like an end of life thing, go out together from their medical conditions? I don't think any of that can be ruled out, but not enough to pinpoint and say this is exactly what it is at this point. Oh, there's Byron. Byron, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. How are you, sir?
Awesome.
Yeah, doing good. Good.
Well, maybe, or go ahead, Dennis. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just to say maybe Byron can share his experience, with what, when he took part in the search, well, just how did you feel about things? You evidently you all talked to the son, the areas that you all searched. What did you come away with it after everything was said and done?
Really, there wasn't much behind the scenes that wasn't shown on camera that took place off camera. So pretty much everything that was released by AWP was what happened. As far as, the search that took place, when we had looked for the spot where the mirror was found, where we were downriver quite a ways and had actually drove through that field and everything, that was really the most promising spot, I thought, because that mirror, I'm pretty sure, did come back to a Honda vehicle. It was a Honda Civic, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that, if I remember correctly, that mirror did come back to a Honda vehicle, and so that we felt that was going to be promising there, and that's actually when I was on the boat with Jared, and there was nothing in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So just from what I was around and seen, personally, I don't think they're in that Missouri River in that area. It's just my personal opinion. I know a couple other groups have been in that area and done some searching and came up empty-handed as well. So, is it possible that they went back to, where they grew up and everything? It's very possible. Very possible.
Well, I know probably last weekend or maybe Wednesday or Thursday or Friday the week before last, one of the Kansas City pages I belong to, there was some people down on the Missouri River, and there is literally cars sticking out of the water everywhere along the bank. Because the water, I guess, is so low right now, and with the ice, that, they were literally saying, oh, well, this is where people get rid of people. This is where the mob was dumping people. They were talking about all kinds of stuff, but there's cars everywhere. So I would say if it's low down there, it's probably low up there too.
Very, very much so.
And it could be a great time to be trying to do some drone work just to see what is popping up out of the water.
Yep.
But I don't know. I mean, they could have gone a different way. I mean, we don't know what happened.
Yep. And beyond what I heard from the son and what the research that AWP had done, I don't know anything else. So, but they definitely could have went back somewhere else. You know,
Yeah.
somewhere that, you know, maybe had meaning to them that nobody else knew about.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
brought up you guys driving through that field down the Missouri River. The guy in the truck that pulled up on you guys, that was funny because he lives 3 houses down from me.
That's great. That's great. Yep, that was quite the experience.
Yeah.
And that guy, I've only spoken with him a few times over the years, and he's a nice guy, but man, the way he pulled up on you guys that day is like, whoa.
Well, you know, somebody in your field, you don't know who they are, and you know they got this big RV down there and everything else. Yeah, I mean, I'd be a little apprehensive too.
Yeah.
No,
So, living of 6 Road, I believe I found a car to the south. I'm not confirming, but I found good indications, measurements, and photos. I did also find 2 potential cars in the river. Also need Randy's disappearance area. So, living of 6, have you all been able to purchase a drone yet? I know you guys were talking about wanting to purchase a thermal drone, but have you guys at least acquired a regular drone yet?
And I've got a DJI 2, I believe it is. I think Byron actually has a drone, don't you?
Yeah, I've got the Mavic Pro Platinum. I need to get it sent off and get it repaired. I'm having some connection issues with my remote control.
Oh,
Yeah,
not something you want to take off away from you.
you're right.
so the drones, do they use? I know they talked about like thermal imaging. Does it use like the FLIR? Is that what it is, or is it a different kind of system for the thermal imaging?
No, it's basically a FLIR.
Is it a FLIR? Okay, I was
Yeah.
curious about that.
And those drones get very, very costly.
Yeah.
I had looked at they have a camera that I can put onto mine, and I think it was an extra $1,000.
Oh, wow.
Woo.
Yeah.
Can you get them with like LiDAR, or is that like a whole different level?
That would be like law enforcement.
Okay. Because I've seen on, different shows, they'll bring out, LiDAR to try to find like what's underneath the trees if there's a lot of brush in that. But those are, produced TV shows that probably can afford that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the gentleman that I had come out and do that work at Wyandotte County Lake, that little drone he had, which it was some kind of DJI thing. But I tell you what, when he hit the go button, you literally blinked and it was gone. That thing must go 200 miles an hour, because literally I'm like, where'd it go? He's like, oh, it's over there. I'm like, where? He's like, oh, it's gone. I was like, holy cripes, that thing is fast. So
Yeah, mine has an eco mode and a sport mode.
yeah,
You can definitely tell the difference when you're in sport mode.
I bet.
Do you want to go fast or do you want to go extremely fast?
Exactly.
So let's see, where are we at?
Well, I know, Brian, you had mentioned that you felt like maybe they went to a place that was important to them. And that's kind of where I feel like that too, that it was something important for both of them. So,
Yeah, just with the state that they were in with the dementia and everything, I kind of feel that's probably is best scenario is that there's got to be somewhere that meant something to them that maybe the rest of the family didn't know about, kind of, their spot type thing.
Mhm.
And that's where they went.
Yeah.
Is it in water somewhere? That's the thing, You would think that if it's not in water, that the vehicle would have been found by now.
Yeah.
But
I think a lot of times, I always personally feel that, when people don't want to be found, they go to the water.
yeah,
Unfortunately. Because don't get me wrong, we know there's cases where there's been foul play and people in their vehicles have been buried. And that's one of the things we've discussed for years and years with, the Randy Leach case. There was quite a few areas of interest and people affiliated with other people that had the ability and the equipment to dig holes, and certain ones were known to dig holes in the middle of the night for no reason.
and that's huge red flags right there.
So, usually if it's just, I'll give you guys an example, and I know we're flipping around here. There's a place that I drive by all the time, and I have no idea or reason, but there is an old semi-trailer sitting on this property, and there are trees growing around it, and there is hay bales around it. And I don't know why, but every time I go by there, I feel that Randy and his car is inside one of those trailers. I don't know why. I guess maybe it's just my inner self thinking somebody's hiding something for some reason, because not only has these things been there forever, because there's trees that are 6, 7, 8, 10 inches in diameter around it. There's also old nasty hay bale piled up around them. I mean, somebody doesn't want somebody inside those trailers.
Right. And, unless you have a reason to search it, nobody's going to look there.
Yeah. So, it's just one of those weird feelings. Every time I drive by this place, I always look and think, is Randy in there? And I guess because it's just, we had a rumor. We had a little lead come in one time that somebody told us, hey, there's some semi-trailers on a property. You should look inside of them. And it's like, okay, we've never heard this one before. We've heard a lot, but we've never heard that. And, I know where it's at. Dennis knows where this location is at. It's not that far from Linwood. It's not that far from Lawrence, Kansas. And there was also rumors of Randy being seen in Lawrence, Kansas days after he was gone. So it's crazy. But, it's hard. Cars just don't disappear unless they're in water. They were shredded. They were buried. They were hidden somehow. I mean, it's crazy.
Yep. And the whole rumor about the caves also kind of has me also.
Yeah. Well, I had told Dennis back when when we first started talking that when I was in high school, my freshman year, there was a cave that was kind of, I'm not going to say it was on the way to Linwood, but it was, if you were headed towards Linwood, you could go to it. And out in the middle of this farm field, there was a tree row and there was a hole in the ground. And unfortunately, I couldn't fit down this hole, but I had other friends that would go down, and it was a cave. And inside this cave was water, and there was like white, clear looking fish swimming in the bottom of this cave. So it evidently had fresh water coming in and going out of it.
Yeah, someone.
But it was one of the caves. It was always, oh, well, there was, I know we've totally jumped to a different case now, but, there was always this rumor about, these caves and Randy Leach. And it was like, well, yeah, there was this cave. I actually tried getting into it, but I was too big. Well, now that is completely full of houses now, that whole farm field.
Oh, wow.
Literally, it's all houses now.
Is the cave gone? Did they fill it in?
For that, I have no idea. It was, we used to drive off the road, maybe a quarter of a mile into the middle of the farm field. And it was one of those situations of a friend and his mom and dad's friends farmed this land. I don't know if they owned it, but I know they farmed it. And my friend at that time, he took me there because that's where kids used to go and, check out and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think when the cases are so long, sometimes you get so many different stories. It's really hard to decipher what's known, what's unknown, what are good theories, what are something that there's no proof behind. But when there's really nothing to go off of, I mean, what do you do then? So
Yeah, because like Randy's case, we have heard any theory you can think of in a missing persons case, we have heard it. And many of these have actually pretty much ruined some lives from early on when they were teens, just from allegations with no proof.
yeah.
Well, and back to the trailers that Alex was talking about, with the hay and everything around it, I'm surprised that stuff hasn't spontaneously combusted and went into flames on its own.
Oh, yeah.
But
for sure.
But if it was from Randy's case, I mean, it'd have to be there for 35 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and these trees are I don't think they're 35 years old, just because of the size. I mean, we have another location of interest, and I know what 35 years of trees look like because I used to drive by this house on the way to school. And I remember when it was a regular house with a nicely manicured yard. It was a farm, but it was nicely manicured, all this and that. And now you would never even know there's anything in there. It's pure, all straight woods. So yeah, the time period for the growth and the size of the trees, it doesn't make sense for that time period, but it's just, I guess in my mind, we had discussed the other location of interest.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I drive by this one, I always just think of it. And it's like,
well, I mean, if it is foul play, it could be something that got moved or something. You don't know.
yeah.
Especially if they have equipment and stuff that, they could move things with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mac Randall Jr., if they built over a cave, it's a sinkhole waiting to happen.
Exactly.
I would more than likely say these houses that they built in this area all have basements. So more than likely they ran into it and probably filled it and did whatever. So,
okay.
I know at that time period, when we had Jennifer with us that was doing the maps, I know I had told her about the location and all that stuff. And I don't remember if she ever had that mark, but I told her, basically where it was at and stuff. But yeah, who knows? I mean,
I still, like, for me, my gut instinct right now is that he's not far from where he went missing.
Randy.
Yeah, for Randy's, yeah.
Yeah.
And for the black cases, I feel like kind of like we're Brian, where you had mentioned, I do feel like that is, I mean, it's somewhat logical, but I do feel like that is something along the line that I went to a place that was special to them. And
Yeah.
I do lean towards water, but yeah, I'm not sure where, but yeah, I was going to ask, did you talk to the son, or did you, when you're with the team, talk to the son about like what his parents were like personality wise, and like their state of mind at that time?
Yeah. I was standing there when they spoke with him. Like I said, there wasn't much during that whole period that didn't get released in the video. So all the important stuff was put into the video. There wasn't anything that was said off camera that would have gave me any other, suspicions or anything like that. So
interesting.
The reports that the son said how the mom, with everything that she had going on, how she she hit his dad, her husband, with the glass ashtray.
Yep.
It could have been as simple as they just went for a drive to go get something to eat, and she could have had one of her episodes and just backhanded him across the car while they were driving, and he just drove off into some water somewhere. I mean, it could be, it really could be just that simple, unfortunately.
Yep.
But
now, that particular theory, and I started to go into this just a little bit ago, I started looking at that on being a possibility, but when you looked at, their IDs, their money, all of this stuff was left at home,
yeah,
I wouldn't leave home without it. Not saying that they wouldn't, but could she have had an incident like that and they decide just to go out and go for a drive to kind of calm down, maybe?
Yeah. And just left the house in a rush.
Yeah. And with the tensions being high in that point, you're gonna leave whatever and just hop in the car and go.
Yeah.
Or if it was like an emergency, and then got lost on the way to the hospital. So
yeah, very, very well could have been, and it'll just take more investigating, looking into areas of interest, and trying to get out and search and sonar and drone work, and
And we do have some locations to search this year lined up. And without a doubt, there will be more added to that.
one of the reasons, if it was, we intentionally left to leave the door unlocked, would be that way no one would have to break down the door to get in.
Yeah.
Because I think in that situation, they wanted to leave the house for their son. And yeah, you leave it unlocked because you don't want to have anyone break down the door when they're trying to find you. So
now, if I remember right, I think Jared actually asked the son on that video, was Billie sentimental? Would he have thought to take the two of them out, end this together peacefully, go out together? And their son said that Billie wasn't the sentimental type like that.
Yeah, but in the moment, though, is it one of those things that, you're not going to react the same way that you think you would?
Right.
Yeah.
So could he, had a flip of heart in that moment? I believe so.
Yeah, I think that would be possible. I mean, something like that doesn't always have to be this really thought out, planned out thing to do. If she would have possibly had another episode and him with his medical problems just thought, hey, that's it, that's enough, we need to do this, load up and go.
Yep.
And at the same time, she could have been having just a really good day that day and then sitting and talking and make the decision spur of the moment together to go do this.
It very well could have.
Yeah. I know I've had to go through, family members in the hospital and that, and, in particular, like my aunt, she definitely did not want to do nursing home. But at the same point, she didn't want to go home, but she couldn't, and it's really different. It's a hard thing to go through to do that at the end when you have a lot of health issues and things like that. And it's hard on the family making those choices and everything. So that could be that. It's like, what is that choice? But then you have another form of suffering where, this happened, but you don't know what happened, or if you do, you're not allowed to say, it's one of those things. And you have this other thing that happened that is still just as, which is a different kind of suffering versus being in the hospital and suffering. So I don't know. It's hard to say. No one knows for sure. Like I said, it could just be a simple accident. It could be anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, they've been missing for too long and they need to be brought home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
If it was something they chose to do together, if it was an accident, if it's something more, at the end of the day, what matters, they need to come home.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this? Megan has been kind of hanging out off camera here. What are your thoughts on it?
I really don't know. I want to say that it kind of.
Come closer for the mic.
The camera. I don't want to be on camera. I want to say that it was kind of a. I know it's going to sound morbid, but it's like, let's end it together type thing. Because he was getting frustrated with having to take care of her. She couldn't control it anymore, and he just wanted to go out.
Yeah.
I think that is very possible. And when you look at the, his medical problems too, everything that they had to deal with, we took care of Dad for years. You took care of your dad. We took care of your mom, while my brother took care of my mom. It's not an easy thing to go through. And when you have your own problems too and trying to do that,
Hard.
I can understand where they would come from with that kind of decision, even if it was a rash decision. I can understand them coming to that conclusion. I don't like that conclusion, but I can kind of understand their feelings and sentiment going into that.
Yeah.
Yep. Didn't want to leave anybody with the hassle of having to take care of them or anything like that. So,
And the expense of it all.
Yep.
Because like if you're, and I didn't realize this. I have a family member. I didn't know her very well. It was on another side of the family, but this gal had never married, and she used to live with her sister, and her sister passed. And it was kind of like a hoarder situation, and she was not taking care of herself. And at the end, like she had like a family member kind of helping her out. I can't remember, it was her daughter. It wasn't her daughter. It must have been a niece, because I know she never married. So it must have been a niece that came over and would help her out from time to time with different things. And like she couldn't get up. Like one day she came over and she couldn't get out of the chair. And so they called the ambulance, and they, took her in, and they were like, she's not coming home. She's in really rough shape. She's not going to go on hospice, but she can't live by herself. She has a lot of health issues. So since it was through Medicaid, so what they did then, and I guess this is what Medicaid does. This is all new to me, but they basically just came in and, they took her house, and sold her house and used that money. And that she just was a ward of the state at that point until she passed away. So she was a ward of the state through Medicaid, living at a nursing home for the last 2 years of her life. So, that could have been part of it too, that going through all of that. I mean, I didn't realize that. That's part of the deal with Medicaid. So don't understand all of that. But that could be part of it too. Who knows?
Yeah, when I was a police officer, I had to actually file a basically an adult in need of care report to the state, just due to the fact that the person they had family, but the family wasn't around, didn't want to help, anything like that. And I had to actually type up that report and submit that to the state.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I did not get to find out what happened in the outcome of that, but definitely one hard thing to do.
It is. Yeah. I think they said it was the EMTs kind of reported that. And the house was in pretty bad shape too. I mean, I guess she had some family that would help out a little bit, but they didn't have the ability to, take care of her. Especially since she had like multiple medical needs at that point. There was no way she could live at home without like full-time assisted living. And even then, I don't even know if that was possible.
Yeah. And, at that point, law enforcement, fire, medical, they're all mandated reporters. They have to report things like that. So
makes sense. And she needed, I mean, and I don't even know all that was wrong with her, but she wouldn't have survived more than probably a couple more days considering what she was dealing with. So.
Yep. And, and that could have been one of those things with them. They didn't want to leave their family with anything to deal with. So that was the way they were going to go out.
Yeah.
I remember with my aunt when she was in the hospital, I know she said no, she said no, she wanted to go. She told us for years she didn't want to go in a nursing home. But then when she was in the hospital, she was like, I don't want to die. You do everything to keep me going. And it's like, so at that point I had resigned myself to, okay, the only thing left at that point was, word of the state nursing home. Because if she wants to live, then that's how we're going to live. So we did talk to her. She was having some cognitive issues, but she ended up just going downhill very quickly. So, but yeah, it was just, and I just figured, okay, that's going to be the process. But, apparently she had different plans, but yeah, I can see that being part of it too. I think this part, I didn't even realize like this is a whole thing when parents are aging. So.
Yeah.
Though I feel like I think he's a good guy, but I feel like he was kind of ornery too.
Oh, let's see. Dennis, do you have their regular flyer to share with the audience? You have it saved so you can pull it up. Just for the others that are watching but are not logged on, just so they know exactly who all we are talking about, if they don't already know.
And when did they go missing?
2008.
Oh wow.
September 11, 2009.
2009.
Yep.
On a different note, while Dennis is looking for that, We are so close to 3,000 subscribers. So close. So close. If you are watching and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that like button. Please share. Spread awareness. We'd like to do a 3,000 member party giveaway night. That would be nice if we can make that happen. Because Lord knows we've been stuck at 2,990 to 97 for like 12 years, it feels like.
Right. And we'll gain a couple and we'll lose a couple.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, with all cases, spreading awareness, keep people talking, people see things on the river, just unfortunately, just like the hunters that go hunting and mushroom hunting, every year they find, human remains,
Yeah, I think for that first case we talked about, that someone had mentioned that there's a lot of mushroom hunting around that area, so that might lead to something. So
Yeah, and with Alex mentioning the waters are real low and everything at this point, it would be definitely a good time if anybody has drones that can get out there to fly over those areas and see what can be seen.
Yeah. For sure. I'm trying to see if I can find that Facebook post where they showed all the cars.
And if they're that visible, why aren't they doing anything to remove them?
Well, I would say probably just because of the amount of ice and everything that was down there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And all that. And some of these look like they have been there a long, long, long time. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, this ain't letting me pull their flyer up. I had to do that before.
I was actually kind of curious, like, I don't know if there's a stat for this, but at least, like in the Midwest in general, or, in Kansas or Missouri and that, is there the number of cases where they've had someone missing and then they, in a car, and then they found their car years later, not in the water, that it was somewhere else? Like, what's the percentage of that? Is that like really low? And again, probably Kansas might be a little bit easier. There's less wooded areas. I think there's more wooded areas in Missouri, depending on the area. But, like how often does something like that occur?
Yeah, without, I don't know if there's any statistics on that. or what, but that would definitely be something to look into.
Yeah, because if it's really low, like say for like like Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, areas that have less wooded areas, like what is the chances of that? If it is more common, then it's like, well, what were those situations? Because I could see like a ravine or a creek or things like that, but what were those situations if it did occur, and then is there a trend like that could help you look for a location? So in these areas that are more open, what are the good spots to look at other than the most obvious ones? Is there a trend somewhere, or is there not? And it's really, it just tends to be in those a wooded area, ravine, water, etc. And that's, you don't really, like, they're not in a field, they tend to be found fairly quickly if something like that happens. So
Right. Yeah, I don't know if the state would have anything like that on file, or if that would be a situation where you would have to physically look at all the missing persons cases that's been found.
Yeah.
And calculate your own numbers.
Yeah. And that would be hard.
I'm sure the state software could narrow it down, but has it actually been done? Probably not.
Yeah. I think like on your own would be hard, because a lot of times you'll see, they were found safe, or, they were found, but they don't always give you the details around
Exactly.
it.
Yep.
Well, I have not been able to find that stinking post on Facebook that showed all the cars on the bank, the bank of the river. I should have screenshotted it where it was at, so I would have been able to find it again.
Yeah, I've learned that the hard way, the screenshots, and because you can save it to Facebook, but if someone deletes it, the screenshots is your only hope.
Yeah. This day that I found it, I was like, oh wow, I wonder where this is at. Then I'm like, oh, this is right here in town. So I started looking at it, and there was these people standing down on the banks, and there was just car after car after car after car sticking out of the water, and a lot of them, they were all smashed. You can tell that the barges have been hitting them and stuff, because they park a lot of barges along the riverbanks, at certain times. And I swear it was like, I thought it was like What's Happening in Kansas City page. But I can't remember which one. And I belong to like 10 million groups and pages, and it's a nightmare trying to find something. I usually screenshot everything. That way I can always find it if I need to go back and look at it.
It helps. Yeah, just in case. But I don't always remember it either.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot. Then you have all these screenshots on your phone, and then then trying to find that can be hard too.
Well, what's worse is when your phone needs an update, and it tells you it can't do an update because there's too much crap on your phone. Then you got to delete everything off your phone. To do the update, then reinstall everything, and hopefully you got your pictures, moved over where you don't lose them all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing that I do, you can actually hit the share button and share it to yourself through Messenger.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I'll try that one. Yeah.
It's amazing the technology we figure out every day.
Yeah.
I bought a new truck last September, and Tammy drives it. And
so you bought your wife a new truck.
Yeah. So we I've been sick again. I've had another nasty cellulitis leg infection that made me really sick again. And I had doctor's appointments Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. And Tammy and I's running down I-29. She's driving. All of a sudden, the truck starts making this boop, 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 and I thought it was her phone. And I'm like, who's that? Or what is that? She's like, it's the truck. I'm like, what do you mean it's the truck? You know, I drove the truck too. And she's like, it's the truck. It's the radar. I'm like, what do you mean the radar? She goes, well, evidently it's got built-in radar for the highway patrol and the police.
Really?
I'm like, whatever. She goes, no, I'm serious. Wait till we get up here. There's a cop going to be sitting off the side of the road shooting radar. I kid you not. We got up there and there was a cop shooting radar. All 3 days of her and I driving on I-29, the truck was doing that. It has never once done that with me driving it. Never once.
Well, maybe it goes off when you're speeding or not speeding, or it just goes off because of the radar.
No, but when it was, no, she wasn't speeding, but she does speed, but she wasn't speeding at this moment. But I'm like looking at the dash and it's got a big radio, giant, big radio in it. And I'm looking at the radio and I'm looking at the dash in the truck and I'm like, where is this coming from? And she's like, I don't know. It just goes off. And usually there's always cops. And sure enough, all 3 days I was riding with her, which is funny because, like I said, I've owned the truck since September and I've never heard it do that once. And all of a sudden now it's doing it. But they did do an update on the, whatever they call the infotainment stuff in those trucks. They did do an update in it. And I don't know if they turned it on and I didn't know it had that option because it's got some weird stuff that I'm still trying to figure out.
No, I didn't know they had cars that had that built in.
Yeah,
I didn't either. And I was a cop.
Literally freaked me out. I'm like, what's going on in this thing?
Car gonna explode, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a female thing because we got to sit there and push every button and mess with this and mess with that. You just find everything.
What?
Well, you got to figure it out.
Well, when I first bought it, I was trying to understand how everything worked because it's the newest version of the truck that I drive, and I was trying to figure everything out and the all the digital dash stuff. There's lots of times she gets in it and she touches the steering wheel and it changes all the dash, and I was always trying to figure out that. But yeah, this is definitely a new one. So technology is just out of control and stuff these days. So like Dennis and I was talking, you now can buy these glasses that are sunglasses or regular glasses that have the built-in AI technology in the 4K cameras.
Yep.
I saw a commercial for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of walking around with your phone now, you can just wear your glasses and drive and work and do whatever. It's crazy. So yeah, hopefully, hopefully when it comes to missing people, the technology keeps getting more advanced, the farm show is this weekend and the drone companies are always there. They're more than willing to talk to you. Last year, Dennis and I talked to him about the thermal drones, and I think there was two different drone companies there last year, or was it just two different companies, but they were all selling DJI stuff?
There were two, but they both had DJI stuff.
Okay. But they had the big giant agricultural drones.
Yeah, those are cool.
Then they had all the, normal ones like what we use, the thermal ones that everybody would like to purchase. But yeah, they are crazy expensive.
I want one of them agricultural ones and take the tank off and mount on a seat with a seatbelt. You can fly on that thing. Those things are massive.
Yeah.
Hauled them in on flat trailers. They were so big.
I find it hard to believe though that you can't go on Alibaba Express, one of those, and you can't go to China, Japan, and get a cheaper drone with thermal imaging. I mean, there's so many companies now that are making knockoffs of, most. I think they said that 80% of everything from the Chinese market is a DJ variant knockoff, because they are the most successful, supposedly. So,
Yeah, they own that market.
yeah. So I'm surprised people have not, companies have not come out with a cheaper alternative, because they would sell like hotcakes. I mean,
Their
just
camera's going to be hard to beat though, because they
Yeah.
have good camera on there.
yeah. I mean, just like the handheld thermal imaging devices, they used to use at the GM plant to look at the robots to see how hot they were when they were welding. And, the electricians use them to find hot spots where something might be grounding out or too much amp load, or, now you can buy the ones that plug into the bottom of your iPhone for a couple $100.
Yeah, I've seen those, yeah.
So,
I'm surprised they haven't put like auxiliary ports on the drones to be able to just plug those things in.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That might be the future.
Might be.
I better patent that idea. Hang on.
You better get on it tonight.
Trademark that right now.
Get it done.
Hey, we'll try your product out for you.
I wouldn't know how to start to do it.
Let us know where we can sign up for the sponsorship.
Right?
Getting sponsors is hard. When I used to do the mud racing events at the county fairs and the mud bogging shows with the trucks, I used to do that a lot. I would go and, try to get sponsors to give added prize money or gifts to hand out to the show, for, us putting them all over the websites that we used to have back in the day, and anything and everything. And it was so hard, so many
Yep.
people, well, if I give you this, what is it going to benefit me, besides a tax write-off or something that says I did this for you. I know we personally have reached out many a times to boating companies and this or that, and what's the same old routine we get, Dennis?
Don't have enough followers.
Don't have enough followers. Don't have enough views. We are thankful you do what you do, but you don't have enough of a following for us to donate something to you.
Yep.
So,
And it sucks, but I get that. If it was my company, yeah, you get a tax write-off and all of that, but there got to be some incentive there. And like with our numbers, that incentive just ain't there yet.
yeah.
Maybe one day, but not quite there yet.
Yeah. How about something off the scratch and dent shelf? How about a factory refurbished unit?
Right. Now, Catfish is telling me he's got 2 companies out by him he's been talking to who are interested. So we'll see how that goes. But they don't have gear like what we use. It would be more of a monetary type thing.
Yeah.
These are 2 very large companies. So we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice. It'd be nice to get some stuff, but hey, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We just have to work hard and keep buying stuff like we've always done. So
Yeah, regardless, we just got to keep pushing forward.
yeah, that is true.
When you look at it, the families who are missing a loved one, they're in that situation too. Financially, all of you guys know financially, it's expensive to do these searches, and these families, on top of missing their loved one, trying to do that as well, they're going through enough how it is.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely, for sure. That is very truthful.
There was one person I talked to not too long ago, one of the newer cases that come in. That's one of the things they were talking about. They've tried to go out and do this, but it requires them to travel to the location from out of state, and just financially, they're not in a place they can afford to do that. And
yeah.
Like, how many families are out there like that, missing a loved one and financially are unable to go themselves to do something? And, law enforcement, they do everything they can, but you're also looking at limited resources, limited budget, man hours, and they have a lot more red tape than what teams like ours have.
Yep.
I think, didn't the Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri police department, did they not terminate their missing persons unit and then they added them to another unit?
Missouri.
Was it Missouri that did that?
And I want to say what department was that now? I don't remember what department that's under now over there.
I don't know why I want to say cold case. That's not right.
I really don't remember.
I have to look that up and find out for sure.
Victims unit or something, maybe? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's like the sexual victims unit, the unit that covers all of that.
Yeah. Well, so this past week, you had mentioned we've had quite a few cases come in. Statistic wise, what are you seeing? Basically, is it more young adults? Is it more kids? How have you seen things going from what has been brought into us versus just what we're seeing across the board?
We've had a mix come in. It does seem to be more females than males that's coming into us. But when you're looking on social media and seeing all the missing persons flyers, it does look like a pretty good mix of male, female, and ages across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's been a few Amber Alerts recently across the country, and the ones that come into us, before I could even get those out publicly, they were located safe. And that was 3 or 4 different ones in the last week across the country.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's been across the board. Now, the females that are going missing do seem to be anywhere from 18 to mid to late 20s. Seems to be the majority on the female side. But the men are everything from boys up to your elder men.
Yeah. Well, we definitely, one of these days, we need to do a statistic update check. We haven't done it in a while. Because I know it was about 2 years ago we really looked into it, and it was just out of control. The amount of people going missing was just increasing on a daily basis, out of control.
It was unreal.
I don't know if any of you guys heard about the little sting operation that Cherokee County just did down here. They ended up arresting 5 off of a trafficking scam. Yep.
Oh, wow.
I did see that. Yeah.
Yep.
What towns are in Cherokee County by chance?
That would be like Columbus, Galena, down in that area.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because we had that case out of Galena, Carol Solons, that I've spoken. They've gone through. They're on like their second sheriff now that I've talked to, or department with the case, but they seem really good there in that area. And I know the guy I talked to was the captain, and he is actually from, I want to say, Overland Park, and was retired and was asked by the new sheriff if he would come back in and be his captain down there and help build the department. Seems like they're doing really good.
Yeah, and Crawford County here in Pittsburgh just went through a sheriff change, and you know, it's definitely become a more proactive department.
So
So
good to see. And anytime there's a sheriff change like that, I don't think a lot of people realize everything that entails. But he is building his own department there, and a lot of times from scratch.
Yep.
To see him come out like that, it's just incredible. They go through. There's a lot more to their jobs than getting speeding tickets, eating donuts, and sitting in an office. I mean, there is a lot of work going on there.
yeah, and these guys down here, they're great. You know, I work with them almost daily, and every deputy that I've come in contact with or local law enforcement, they are absolutely great.
Yeah.
I know here in Leavenworth, I don't have a lot of interaction with the sheriff's department. There is a lieutenant that I have spoken to on Randy's case, but the local PD here, the Leavenworth PD, they have been incredible. One detective in particular that I've worked with on multiple cases, but just a good department all the way around. And it's nice when we get to have that kind of working relationship with law enforcement. Unfortunately, we have had some that does not want teams like ours anywhere near them, but it is nice when it's like this and there is that good relationship, because we're not trying to replace the department. We're not trying to step on toes. And we're not there because they're not doing their jobs. I feel they are doing their jobs. But when they do have so much against them with their budgets and man hours, the red tape, and not to mention cases coming in almost daily for them across the board, you know, sometimes they just can't get to something as quick as what they want to. I believe they want these cases solved just as much as anybody does.
Yeah, and they have to prioritize them.
Right.
You know, some are going to be more critical and more urgent than others.
Yeah.
But a lot of, you know, everyday society don't understand that, or don't know the things behind it that make one case more important than another.
Yeah. Aha.
What in the world? There we go. Had a screen pop up that was like the Google home screen.
Uh-oh.
Robert, how you doing, man? Robert Huff, he has previous experience with search and rescue. Really good guy. In fact, later this year, we plan on going out of town on our first actual vacation in the last several years. And while we're gone, we're hoping to be able to meet up with Robert and his wife and hang out with them for a little while.
Yeah, you all need a vacation.
We haven't gone on a vacation since 2017. The times we did go out of town was centered around my mom being in the hospital, something going on with that. So just to go on a vacation, we haven't been since 2017. So it's long overdue.
Has it been that long?
And on that trip where we're going, there are some cases that I will be taking some stuff and doing a couple searches while we're on vacation. So if we're going to be in that area, I've got to take that opportunity, and it's just a couple small areas, but I got to take the opportunity and get those searched while we're there.
I guess.
It'll be some morning. We'll let you sleep in, and I'll go over and do this.
Okay.
Oh, Alex popped out.
All right.
But guys, we have passed the 2-hour mark. So at any moment now, StreamYard will end up shutting us off and ending the live. So we will go ahead and shut this down. But Byron, thank you for joining us on here tonight.
Absolutely.
And all of you in the comments, thank you for joining us tonight. And Tamara, you got anything else?
No, I think we covered everything. Nothing else I can think of.
Well, you guys stay safe, and we will be putting out an update video tomorrow on some stuff, so stay tuned for that. But with that, you guys stay safe. We will see you guys down the road.
See ya.
Yep. Thank